Three, two, one. All right. Welcome to the I'm a Practicing Musician podcast, where we explore what it means to be a practicing musician from perspectives spanning music educators to famous musicians. I'm your host, Jake Douglas, and our guest today is Joy Ann Lajeret.
Hi, Jay.
Yeah, hi, Joy. Thanks for joining me. Now, for those who don't know, Joy is a fantastic singer-songwriter based in Redmond, Washington, who also hosts the Matured Musicians podcast, which I'm interested in talking about, and I've actually been interviewed on. Now, I always start off our podcast, Joy, with the question, in your view, what does it mean to be a practicing musician?
It means that I do a lot of practicing.
Yes.
Nothing comes easy for me. I'm one of those people that need to practice almost daily. And usually I build into those practices jamming and going out with other musicians and jamming with them to keep those skills live. I don't do anymore a lot of gigs out in the public, so I have to keep my skills and practice them in front of people through jams and occasional things that come up that I do. That's what it means to me, and it means a lot of hard work is put into everything, including the recordings that I make. So it's a full-time job just to advertise, practice my music, learn new music, and get it out there in one form or another in any way I can.
Yeah, thank you. And so it's really interesting because there's a lot of people I know who don't even necessarily perform or record at all, but
Yeah.
they just love to practice. Would you say that you also actually enjoy the act of practicing, or is it more so that you can prepare for the jam sessions, the live shows, which or the recordings or all these other things that you do?
For me, it is preparation. I don't like the feeling of doing the music wrong, which happens because I don't read music. I don't take any electronics to aid me. So I do it all by memory. And practice means that I'm going to memorize it better if I'm working on it constantly. So um, I enjoy meeting with people and singing in front of people because of the feedback that I get. So I'd have to say my joy comes from actually presenting the music that I've been practicing to the outside world and the people that listen.
And how long have you been playing?
Well, uh, I started a band in 2000 and until I had cancer and got wiped out by chemo and radiation.
Oh no.
Yeah, two kinds. And I had to sit because I couldn't stand anymore. And I was just 4 hours just strung me out. I couldn't do it. And I was getting Charlie horses every part of my body after the gig. So I finally had to call it off in 2015. And then I repaired. I took some time out to get well. And I went back in 2019. I started with a Bothell Volunteer Senior Band and picked up my guitar after not having had it for a few years, 4 years to be exact. And I found out how far out I was. I mean, I had to relearn everything. I was pretty cruddy when I started back. It wasn't good. But
Yeah.
the local musicians at jams were more than happy to help me. So I got back into the swing, but it took me from 2019 to now to even get back to the level I was at. So, or actually a little better than the level I was at. But it took a while. It did come easy.
Yeah, and so during the pandemic, were you able to perform much or just practice a lot?
No. During the pandemic, I started streaming because I was totally cut off from music and jams. So there was, you know, nothing for me to do but sit and practice. And I wasn't going to stream because I didn't feel I was good enough to do that. And I still don't like solo performances. I'm not a solo. So I started streaming and ran across a few streams, a few artists, and one of them happened to be a younger person named Jessica Lynn Whitty, who had a 1 hour show every Thursday at 5 o'clock, 5 p.m. And she had a little bar set up and everything, and she called it the Honky Tonk Happy Hour. And her husband is also a pianist and singer and writer, although at the time he wasn't singing like he is today. And they encouraged me to start writing songs. And that's what I did. I thought, well, yeah, this sounds good. At least I'll have an outlet for all this creativity. And so
Yeah.
I started in have you ever heard of the band Heart by Heart?
No.
Ever heard of the band Heart?
Yes.
Well, two of the members of that band, the bass player and the drummer, created a band called Heart by Heart.
Hmm.
And the person that eventually took over the lead position, his name is Chad Cruz, who sponsors my program, Matured Musicians Group. And he also had a studio, which I've been going to. And I started working with him. I got real brave and I called him and I said, would you like to record some of my music? I'm looking for somebody to help me. And that started it. So we've been recording ever since. I think I have about 12 recordings out there. So I don't even, I've lost count. It's one I'm working on, another one is waiting, and it's just constant. So, and that takes a lot of time too. But that's what I was doing during COVID. No performances, no streams, other than listening to them and writing music and getting it produced.
Yeah. So you've seen a transition to the digital world.
Yeah,
Sounds. Yeah.
absolutely.
And how has that affected, how do you think that that's not only affected your music, as you just explained, but other people's music and the music industry in general?
Well, I interview, as you know, musicians and some people that aren't musicians, but connected to that world in one way or the other. And one of the people that really left an impression on me was Linda Bridges' studio, which is located in Seattle.
Hmm.
He used to do all the great bands around here, Alice in Chains, and I don't even know all of them, Queensryche, and I'm not a rock around country. So when he came on my program, he was telling me about his studio, and I'd heard that this was a studio in the past that did all these big stars and so forth, and he was the one who was working with them. And now he purchased it. He went to work there, and he in the beginning, and he now owns it. But it's not. The world has changed, and he's a proponent of that because he saw the transition with Linda Bridges' studio to the point that you've got a lot of smaller studios now because of the electronics world and all the things that you can do with the various programs on Pro Tools, for example.
Hmm.
And most musicians are somehow connected with recording their own music, and even just little minor studios that people have. I've seen a man named Doug Rusk, who's just been out there for a short time, is doing quite well, writing his own music and playing it out. And he's just got this little thing, I don't even know what it is, but the quality of the stuff that he puts on SoundCloud and Reverb Nation, it's quite good. I don't know that you put on the radio, but yeah, I don't, I don't think it's mastered, but it is, good enough to play out there and get a lot of attention. So that's one way it's changed. Another way that it's changed is used to be you got a gig and you went to it and you played. That's it. Today, there's a whole lot more to it. You have to go out on social media, let yourself be known to your fans and the people out there, and keep that whole group of people connected to you so they know when to see you or where you're going to be and to hear you and interact with you. And that means a lot of social media. And
Mm.
if you're an independent artist, like a lot of us, um, you don't have it's odd for people to get record deals. I mean, they come along and they're happening, but it's a rarity now compared to what it used to be even 5 years ago. So
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting that you say that. Looking from a very high view at the entire industry, the what used to be the four major record labels is now the three, and those three represent a total of 7,500 artists
There's
globally. And not only that, but in 2011, it switched a little bit because of Spotify and these streaming services, which have their own negative effects
exactly.
on the industry. But until 2011, those 7,500 artists generated 88% of all of the revenue globally.
No, that's changed.
Yeah, and that's great that that's changed. Now, based off of that, how do you feel about the stigma that music is only worth pursuing if it's a full-time career or full-time natural talent, or even like people that see these numbers and be like, there's no way I can even make money doing it. People are making money. Like, but it's there's there when I was growing up, my family, every single person on both my mom and my dad's side are doctors of some sort. And I was told you cannot be a musician because you can't make money. And that's very common. I went to school for pre-med doctorate of osteopathy program, ended up meeting amazing musicians and decided I wanted to do that instead anyways, but I couldn't get my family to help with my collegiate tuition if I didn't do something that was aligned with what they wanted. So I ended up bridging the gap and said, okay, I'll do psychology. So soft sciences, so it's not quite as mentally taxing on me. And I did that, and I'm actually glad that I did that because having a knowledge of how the human psyche works is very
Right.
important for anything that you do. But that being said, I was still in that category of people, and look what I'm doing now. And my parents, even I mean, like even
Different
last,
journey.
well, I've been doing this for 7.5 years, Joy, and even last year, my dad was like, "You should just stop doing this." I was like, really? He's like, yeah, like it's not going anywhere. I'm like, it's what do you mean? Like he's like, you're not making any money. I'm like, that's why is that the thing that
Yeah,
matters?
why is that matter? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So anyways, back to the question. Sorry, that was a little tangent, but how do you feel about that stigma of it being only for a full-time career with people for people with natural talent?
Well, there are men that I have met through mature musicians and jamming and going out and meeting public since 2018.
Mhm.
And I didn't know there were full-time musicians. It's so stupid, but I really didn't know that scene. I hadn't really, I was gigging an awful lot every weekend, sometimes 3 nights a week. And so I did the music and did the practicing, had the band and did all the background stuff, but not electronically necessarily. That came later.
Mhm.
And they didn't know that people were doing this for their life's work. And
Mm.
now I've met the men who've been in it for 30, 40 years, and that's all they've done. And
Mm.
obviously they made a living at it. I mean, they're still out there, but they have to do a lot more than they used to earn the kind of money that they might have been getting back then. And when I started in 2000, we were getting 350 to $400 gig, and I had 5 people in my band, so
Yeah.
that was nothing. But back then, that was what long enough ago that your money went a little farther than it does today. But
Yeah.
the people that are new and up and coming and trying to get into that position, it's a little more difficult because a lot of these places want a following and they want you to bring your fans in and spend money in their establishment. Um, and they really have to do a lot of work to get those gigs and to get the kind of gigs that pay them enough money. And obviously, casinos are the best for that. But they're struggling and they do a lot of work compared to a lot of gigs, work that them they did before. And they're surviving, but they're not rich.
Hmm.
Now, now somebody like Lynn Sorensen, he runs a jam down in Duval every Sunday night with Doug McGrew. And Lynn was with that basis for Bad Company for a while. And of course, he went all over Europe and toured with them. And, I would imagine he made some big bucks during that period of time and definitely gained a name here. So he
Hmm.
has a following, but, he's not driving a new car. And as far as I know, he doesn't have any other job. That's his only work. And, he looks like 99% of the time he's going to kill me. He looks like he's been drugged through a nuthole. I mean, he's tired. And,
Hmm.
that he's not getting any younger. Uh,
Hmm.
and he's been doing this for, I don't know how many years, 35, 40 years or more. I honestly don't remember. I have to go back to see his interview to figure it out. But yeah, and this, the gigs don't always pay. The gigs are paying less than what I was making from 2000 to 2015. It's unbelievable. Some of them are paying about the same. And it's like, well, all these years have gone by and that's all you people are getting is shocking. And when I hire my people, I pay them out of my own pocket when I do a gig to make up and compensate for what um, these people are being given. I mean,
Hmm.
it's insane. I won't let men play for me for less than $150 for that 2 hour gig, or
Yeah.
maybe a 3 hour gig at most. But it, after all the money you have to put in with your instruments and your strings and your time and your effort, it just seems to me that musicians aren't appreciated and that stigma has followed them. It's still out there, and I think it's crazy. Um,
Yeah.
and there's so many people out there independent writing music right now, people that I interview all the time that no, they're not full time. Some of them have to work, but
Hmm.
others are retired, so they have that time, but they certainly don't have the money. They have enough to live on, but they're not getting rich. And I've spent over $40,000 getting my music approved, putting up a website, doing all the things that I've been doing and advertising myself, make it, doing CDs, which costs money, and where you can order, you know, merch from my website and so forth. And I've given a lot of it away for advertising purposes. That all costs money. Altogether, I've made $900 a
Yeah.
day.
But that's not why we do it. I mean, if we
No,
end up making money, that'd be great. But
if
yeah,
I were, but if I were a full-time musician, I have no choice, and I would
yeah.
have to do with people and play places that I w- I wouldn't do
Well,
if I
yeah.
did.
I mean, for people listening at home who maybe aren't musicians or haven't gone through this process, think about your $400 split between five people, $80. Okay. You do a couple gigs a day. Some people do, I know, 2 or 3 gigs a day. Those are full-time gigging musicians. You're making $240 a day. Okay, sure. But think about all the practice time. This is not like you're going there and then you play for an hour and then you're done. You're practicing daily, daily. So there's so many hours put into this that the hourly rate for people playing in local uh, establishments is a lot of the times very low. And that's why I know a lot of people. So first of all, let me ask, I know a lot of people that supplement their gigging by doing private lessons or doing some other form of music related
Exactly.
activity, right? Because that's still music. And so that is a career in music. Even if you're teaching, it's not so it's kind of piecing together income to make a full-time salary. But for you, it sounds like, did you have a different job for a while before you transitioned into this more full-time music?
Yeah, I'm 80 years old.
You're
So,
80?
yes.
No way.
And I retired when I was 76 from working full time,
Okay.
which was about 4 years ago. And prior to that, during the time 2000 to 2015, I worked full time job and I had my music almost every weekend. We were full. I mean, we were hired an awful lot, 4 hour gigs. There weren't a lot of brewery and wineries like there are now. At
Mhm.
least at that time, we weren't aware of as many as I've run into today. So, yeah, um, I lost my train of thought.
Well, I think I think being 80 and looking like you is a great endorsement for becoming a musician. That's it.
Yeah, well, it's true. There's a lot of medical benefits to music and so forth, but there's some hangups. Like, for instance, your legs are not what they were or when you were younger, and and your voice changes. Mine's gotten a little deeper than it was during the time that I was gigging.
Hmm.
So when I retired and came back in 2018, I had just retired, so I had just finished work, not no longer working, and I had a lot more time, and then COVID hit, so I got busy doing things I would never dreamed that I would have ever written a song and had it produced. So
Yeah. Well, that's great. And so I think that this is a good place to transition into matured musicians.
okay,
So one of the so I'm interested, I guess, let me hear from you first. Why did you start a podcast or an organization called Matured Musicians?
okay. Well, once I got this music out there and it was produced, in the beginning, it wasn't the greatest music I've ever heard. But he switched up his studio and got things, new mics and so forth, and new different programs on his computer that increased the quality of the music that we were producing.
Hmm.
And after I had it, I said, "Well, do what do with it? I'm not out there gigging. There's not a lot right now going on." So I got a hold of a young lady who has been, she's an independent artist. She works out of, remember what it's called in Tacoma. I haven't come back there for a while. And her name is Kira Michelle. And she was working in the studio and doing all kinds of things with the music, working as a full-time musician and making money on it she was an independent artist. She didn't have a contract. And she was giving these courses, which are part of making money if you're a musician besides just gigging. And she had this program that I paid over $800 for to learn how to market my music.
Hmm.
And one of the things, a lot of musicians are still streaming. They still stream. They still have programs where they're getting their music out to that venue as well. And I told you I'm not a solo artist, and I don't feel that. I'm basically a basic rhythm player, and I don't do a lot of fancy stuff on the guitar.
Hmm.
And I leave that up to my lead and bass player drummer to do. I'm not interested in doing that myself.
Hmm.
So it was like, well, what can you do to get out there? And she said, well, why don't you stream a program? Think of some cause, something that you would like to do for others that would make sense to you. Well, I'd worked with battered women for many, many years, and I that was one of the first things that came to mind. And then I thought, well, why would I do that? Because I've also retired from that. It's been over 20 years. It's time for me to do something else.
Hmm.
So I thought, she said, well, think of something and come back. And I've been jamming, I came back and been jamming prior to the COVID thing. And I thought, well, I have the money to spend on buying the information on marketing from her and learning how to do this through all these different venues. Uh, but there are people out there like me, independent, who are just getting into all of this and aren't aware of what's going on. So I like to do a show called Matured Musicians. And I was thinking at the time, um, people 55 plus, and people that were beginning to retire or were older, and it was much more difficult for them, I thought, maybe to get it back into the music business, especially after COVID when a lot of things shut down. So and I thought of various names for it, and eventually I figured I settled on Matured Musicians. That's very controversial. I've gotten a lot of crap from it, but it's been fun crap, so I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And then I started meeting a lot of younger people who were just starting out or trying to get gigs after, during COVID, as I began to interview. And I thought, oh my gosh, it just has no age limit. What I'm really looking at here isn't the age. I'm more or less looking at the maturity of the music.
Hmm.
And, some of these young people in their 20s that were beginning to interview with me, like Kira Michelle, for example, um, were well beyond their years. I mean, I've met people who've been in 35, 40 years that aren't as good as some of the people who've only been at it 4 or 5 years in their 20s and up and coming. Not going to get a record contract necessarily, but they are going to, be independent and put their music out there and produce music as well as gigs. And
Hmm.
but they have to be known. And this is another type of advertising. So, I figured this would be a good way to help them. Well, it just mushroomed from there. And here I am.
Yeah. I think
Almost 3 years.
3 years. You've been doing it for 3 years. Wow.
In July, yes.
Okay. Very exciting. And so you talk with a lot of musicians, and I'm sure that this is something that you talk about, but what what message do you typically convey, or would you like to convey to people who appreciate music but hesitate to become a practicing musician because they feel like it's too late, or they're not talented enough, or practicing music requires too much discipline, or all these kind of stigma.
Nonsense,
Yeah,
nonsensical
it's
things.
nonsense. Exactly. It's implanted barriers that are have nothing to do with reality. So, but yeah, I'm interested to
I
hear.
think we covered that. There's a lot of older musicians out there that I interview that are older than me, still
Hmm.
playing. And it has, music is one of the things that stimulate everything in your body and your psychic. It's not just one thing, it's many, many things. And the brain has to work entirely different way than it does on anything else. And so the last thing I did was, I think the first part of February, I went into the Redmond seniors living a senior community and did a gig there for 2 hours. And people, um, were I brought shakers and things for them to participate with, and even Alzheimer patients were participating in the music
Hmm.
and recognized some of the songs from the past that they had heard before, even though they were losing their memory, they remember the music. And even during the time that I was with the volunteer senior band and we were going into these communities, I realized how beneficial. So I started reading up on it, and there's a considerable amount of information out there, well-established research that shows uh, that it keeps you young, it heals you, it's beneficial psychologically and physically and in every way. Music, not only listening to it but doing it, practicing it, and doing it in public keeps you young. Like I said, I'm 80. I'm still going at it. I don't. I do jams 4 nights a week, and I'm there for at least 4, if not 5 hours a night. I don't
Hmm.
practice that whole time, but I find things to do, and I like. There's always some need for a band when you're there to do something that can help them, and
Hmm.
talking with people and so forth. And so that's just it's a healing. I don't want to say sport, but it's a healing endeavor.
Do you talk to a lot of people who have started later in life?
Yes. Um, I have there's a Thursday night jam with a young man called Douglas, and he went back to it. He was an Olympic swim coach, and he just turned 60,
Mm.
and he had been out of it. And for the last 7 or 8 years now, he's been jamming, and now he's beginning to take off. He writes every day, writes a new song. He puts it out there, and he gigs in a lot of wineries, and he's beginning to get a bit. He has his band together. They're called something Moss. It'll come to me. But anyway, they are out there now as a band and started their first gig. So he hadn't done this since college, many years ago. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, he's just one of many examples. But I also have a lot of people between the ages of 20 and 50 that they're not necessarily older, but they've decided to dip their toes into the music world because maybe they were at a jam or they went out to hear a band that they liked, and all of a sudden they got the bug. And
Yeah.
I just had a guest last this Monday. She's a drummer, and she had an equestrian ranch, and she's also a writer. She has award-winning background that way, and owned her own ranch, her own business, and dropped out of it because the cost today, and picked up her drum. I heard the drums, decided to get one, and now she's really a decent drummer. So if you want to catch that, you can go to Joy Lajeret, my name, like you see it on here, and you can hear her. Her name is Joanna. I always say it wrong. Eyres, and she has been playing out now. She's got a good band she's attached to, and she's just really into this music thing and taking lessons from some really good places in this area that teach drumming.
Mm-hmm.
And she's on her way. And she's now, I would guess, under 50,
Mm-hmm.
but over 35. So somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Hope that
Well,
answers that question.
yeah, I mean, there's not just in music, but in general, a stigma that we become less able to learn as we grow older.
Not true.
It's not true in anything, in
No.
music especially. Uh, People a lot of the times ask me about this natural talent thing, or
Yeah. Then there's a lot of it in this area.
yeah, and then I also hear people saying, "Well, I don't have natural talent. Like I don't have rhythm." And I just go, the example I give so often is, "Well, you walk, don't you? Like you're not walking 3 second step with your right leg and then a 1 second step with your left leg. Like nobody's doing that." So what you've done is convince yourself out of the
Yes, yes,
natural rhythms that are happening.
absolutely.
And so it's just interesting to try and shatter those illusions that people have in their minds. Do you have people, it sounds like you have a lot of people that bring these worries to you as well about them feeling like they can't play music at an older age, whether that's 20 and they didn't learn it when they were a kid, or whether it's 60. But
A-
how do you talk to them about overcoming those
Actually,
obstacles?
actually, it's the other way around. People that have never picked up an instrument, like Joanna, that with the drums, get inspired. Uh, I don't know through what medium. I mean, everybody's different. A lot of different things are going on in their life, and they say, "I want to do that." And if they're like me, they find a good teacher somewhere that they trust and begin the process. And I'll tell you what, there is nothing more boring on the face of this world than learning to do scales and theory and all that. Sorry. and, and that's enough to shut most people down. So how I approached was I found somebody who taught, I already knew basic chords. So he just started taking me to jams. And, it took a long time for me to get the courage to actually go out in public and play. But the people that I interview all seem to have caught that bug long ago. They've fought through having to stand up in public and bare their souls by bringing their original music out there, or and even covers.
Mhm.
And they started. Some of them have been doing it for years, and some are just starting. And they've overcome those things because the drive to play, and they've been introduced to music a lot. I would guess that A large majority of people, 75% or more, took it in school, one place in band. They
Hmm.
learned it, they learned some basic things in band and have brought that all the way through to now. So now when they have more time in their hands, kids grown, the house is empty, they have more time to devote to their music. They
Yeah.
just, has become a passion. So
Hmm.
actually thinking that maybe it was that way, I'm finding is quite different.
Interesting. So yeah, I mean, the way that I overcome the boringness of the scales and technique development and all these pretty standard concerns or I don't know if you'd call it a concern, but I hear a lot of musicians saying, "Oh, I just don't want to do that because it's boring," is I think the major concern that I hear. But the way that I think about it is there's different types of freedom. One is I can do more, and one is that I deeper into the particular task. And so when I'm focusing on, I practice single, double, and paradiddle, single and double stroke rolls and paradiddles pretty much daily. I practice straight rock beats, and then I practice extremely complicated things. But what I'm doing is I'm shifting my awareness very slightly into more of the I guess, exact movements required for perfect technique. And that focus is the same amount, it requires the same amount of focus as doing something very complicated. And so I've tricked myself perhaps or hypnotized myself into enjoying these seemingly boring tasks. Uh, and it's interesting because as I do that, then all of the complicated things, and this is just natural, but the more that you can do the easy things very well, then the complicated things become easier. And so it's interesting. So what is it, I guess, that as you're practicing that you how do you see as a good bridge to get someone who either hasn't played in a long time or who has never played to start playing and overcome that boredom?
Well, I have a master's degree and I have all the coursework done in my doctorate, but I dropped out of it because of a lot of reasons, but money being the biggest one.
Hmm.
Uh, and lack of confidence. I think it got to the point where I was asking myself whether I was really capable of doing what I was doing because I was working with a pretty unfamiliar subject at the time. And I've had my education piecemeal. And I always, now that I'm older, seek out people that have more experience, know how to teach music in some area. They have an expertise in different areas and different ways of handling it. And I got a certification to teach online through Bellevue College. So I can teach at the university level. Because of the pay and a lot of other factors in the state, I never did get a job doing that. That's this, I can't afford, I can't live on this. I have to have steady work. So my approach is slightly different. I believe in combining the two in a way that's not boring. In other words, I prefer to get the basics of theory and the scales down to where they're not something that you're going to do on stage. But how do I explain this? It's like we always had a capstone project at the end of the course. So when you're teaching a course in college, I'm a criminal justice instructor, by the way, later. But we would have a project at the end that showed that all of the courses that they had taken prior, pieces of the course that they were accomplishing, they were able to perform it into. They were able to bring it all into one big project and show that they had gained all of those skills that they needed um, to do whatever it was that they were learning. Does that make any sense?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
But
I maybe a way for people who aren't as familiar with musicians to think about this is instead of just for drumming, a single is right, left, right, left, right, left. If you think about, I've been drumming for almost 20 years and I still enjoy doing this. How do you make that happen? I'm doing the same exact thing over and over and over. Well, it's not just practicing this. Then you practice to a metronome at different speeds. Then you practice to a song, like your favorite song, and you see if you
Yeah.
can same way the entire time. Then you practice faster, then you practice slower. And so you're practicing all these different, the exact same thing, but in all these different contexts that layer on different, uh, not only complexity, but joy, uh,
Yes.
very really to it. There's a great Prince song called Joy and Repetition.
No, didn't see it. Here, I'm
Uh,
not into.
Not into
I'm not
Prince?
into rock,
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
and and Prince is not on my good list.
Fair enough. Yeah, there's a very funny meme actually of Prince in the recording studio just by himself, and it says a rare, and the caption is a rare sighting of Prince with his whole band in the studio. So
So I guess what I personally do. So I had three instructors since COVID hit.
mhm,
I had one who taught me how to begin to put together um, more complex leads. So I kind of did my own lead in enough to where the people that I was working with understood what I was playing and how to play it. And then from there, I moved to another man who had been in my band, who'd been my lead for a while. And he taught me a system called Cage. And it was, all the different modes, the theory, the scales, whatever, but concentrated. Well, I had to learn all of those things, a little bit of them. We concentrated into what was called CAGE, which was a method for country players.
mhm.
And what I do with that lesson, I practice the skills, but I found ways to put those skills to work by playing my music. In other words, what I'm doing now with Chad Christie, my last instructor, um, is he gives me these all these things that I have to master, like lead licks and different kinds of licks up and down the keyboard. And I'm a keyboard. I'm also a piano player, fretboard, and I apply those to. No, I'm not necessarily going to play exactly that in the song, but it improves the quality of the song I'm playing because I bring as much as I can bring into it. So
Mhm.
instead of just concentrating on those drills, like you're talking about, I'm actually putting it into the music that I'm playing.
Yeah.
So I don't know, it expands the sound of the music and it's easier to teach the people in a jam what I'm playing because it's a free for all at a jam.
Yeah.
These rockers in this northern area, they don't know how to play country. And so it's improv. It's somewhere between rock and God knows what, but it's basically my country song played 350,000 different ways, depending whoever's playing lead that night. So
Well, I gotta say, I want to hear you jamming with some like heavy distortion, and then you just do like a nice country slide.
no, no slides, just basic chords,
Yeah.
rhythm.
Uh, well, okay. So, one thing that is interesting about putting the technique and whatnot into practice so that it's not as boring is for people at home thinking about this. If you're just practicing on your own, you don't know if you're actually playing in time. Obviously, playing in time is a very important thing, but when we're focusing on tech, and we have natural rhythm, but when we're focusing on a new technique, you're focusing on the technique rather than playing in time. So then you add on a layer of metronome, but that's steady. Once you start playing with other musicians, there's syncopated rhythms. So you might play the exact same technique, but now you have to sync it up with all of these different accents and different notes that are in different places within the measure. And you might be playing in 4/4 or then 3/4 6/8 7/8 5/8. You might be playing in nines, so some compound meters, and it just becomes very you're doing the exact same thing, but to actually sync it up in the present moment. That's the challenge that brings us into instead of boring, like I can do this, this is just something that I've done forever, into wow, how am I applying this new, well, the old thing in a new setting.
You know what improv is, right?
Oh yeah, I do improv. So
Okay.
yeah, do you know the Nectar Lounge? They do the Mojam
Yeah.
Monday.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and I did
Um,
I did jazz improv at Harvey Mudd, and I've done I've played a couple music festivals just as I've toured around the world that I wasn't supposed to play in. Like I just got there and they're like, "Oh, you play music?
yeah.
Hop on stage with
Yeah.
us."
Well,
Yeah.
that's what it's like. And, every song has structure. I mean, there's certain things that are constants. You can change the beat any way you want, faster, slower, upside down, inside out, 4/4, eighths, 16ths, whatever. But
Hmm.
there are certain things that will still stay the same. And one of the things are the basic chords. So the basic chord structure of that song.
Hmm.
And when you get the people who have no clue, never heard the song, you're on the spot because, like I said, you have to teach them and they're going to play it the way they hear it and understand it. And it can get very different. For
Yeah.
instance, there's a Brooks and Dunn song that I do called Neon Moon.
Mm.
I swear I've heard that played so many different ways now. It's a cowboy cha-cha, but it's usually played in 4/4 time.
Yeah. You know what it is when you hear it, even if it's a different genre.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, whole different, it changes music. And I love it because it helps with creativity and writing songs and putting, music to a song.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, how do you get inspiration for creativity?
Well, I know how to write. After working on a doctorate, I know how to write.
Yeah.
Uh, if you're a political science major, sociology, criminology, or which is law, and political science, I had to do a lot of writing. That's one of those degrees that you have to learn. You have to know how to write.
Hmm.
So it comes to me. Uh, Sometimes I can write a song in 20 minutes.
Mm.
And then, of course, there's all kinds of other things that go into that to make it music at the end by the time you've got a CD or a recording. Um, and, it's just things that I pick out of experience. I got one called Move Over Girls. And if you ever get into my website, you want to listen to that one. But Move Over Girls, I got something to say. Um, I may be older, but I like it that way. I may not be as sexy as I was in my day. Move over, girls, and get out of my way. Um, was basically something that, was part of what I did when I was on stage. So if you ever hear the song, that was it. Then I went to Arizona, and the only place I wanted to go to was Tombstone. This was in 2019.
Hmm.
Before I picked up the guitar again, I had two of my band members that we went to visit, got me started again. And we went to Tombstone, and I wrote a song as I was sitting there watching all this. It inspired me to write a song called "The Ghost of Tombstone." So if
Mm.
you hear that one, that's what that was all about. Then thinking about leaving, it was a song about my daughter who is in a relationship, and they were having some hard times trying to build a relationship. And he was a workaholic, and she didn't have a whole lot of time with him. She's a firefighter in Oregon, and a mother, and raising a family, whatever. And he had been single all his life, so there were some pushes and pulls there. They got pretty ugly. So I wrote the song thinking about leaving. If you ever get a chance, you may want to hear that one. Another one was the very first song I wrote. Was called Heartbreaker, and that was about a battered woman and another woman taking her man away from her. And she was trying to warn the woman that whatever he did to me, he's going to do to you too.
Yeah.
So those that's how I find information. Inspiration. I really don't know. I wrote one about my son's suicide when we were in the military called Lavender Fields, and it
Hmm.
was a mother's lament about the whole process. If you ever get a chance, called Lavender Fields, and they just come to me if I need to get a song out there. I'll sit down and it's just in my head somewhere, in my heart somewhere.
So largely based off of experience and some emotional uh,
Yes,
something that you're working through.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I found is very helpful for me. I guess I do write songs, but I'm not I'm not a singer. I just write them for different groups that I'm a part of. I play drums, but if I miss my drumming, my daily drumming, I'm not working those emotions out.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I sing is the same way. Guitar playing, music, period. That's to me the greatest relief to get rid of all that garbage that gets in your system and you got to get it out. I used
Yeah.
to hit it. I used to do martial arts and hit bags. I'm a little past out.
Yeah. Martial arts. Okay, so how does that play into music? Do you see that there's a correlation between the two disciplines?
Practice, practice, practice. Climbing, practice, memory,
Mhm.
physical fitness. I think the whole thing, no matter what kind of thing that you're doing, whether it's sports or music or whatever, it takes self-discipline. It takes self-confidence and practice and getting to know as much about whatever you're doing as you can. In other words, I believe in lifetime learning. I don't think we ever stop learning. And the
Mhm.
more things that you do that are new and harder and a challenge, the better you get at all the other things you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the paradox. I mean, if you only do things that are hard to do, then everything becomes easy. If you
Well,
only do things that are easy, then
easier.
then it becomes harder to learn new things because you're not branching out and making new associations.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
yeah. So interesting. Let's see. What's another? Or we've got so many questions. We just
I got something that I want to talk about. I don't know if you let me or not, but I want to talk about the things that you and I brought up in my interview with you. And
uh,
that is, I was when I looking at the questions being asked and things that you might say to me. I
mhm,
was thinking about how I had to learn piecemeal. I was first instrument I picked up was the flute in the fifth grade band, where we were all in one school. I lived up in northern Minnesota in the wilds, and
mhm,
I picked up the flute in fifth grade and then played in the band by the time I was in the sixth grade. And then, of course, my parents broke up and we moved to a different city. And then I started out on voice lessons and piano because I was going to a Catholic school and I was in the choir.
mhm.
And then later on, I had one period during my high school years, my mom bought me an accordion. After that, it was the piano and kind of piano lessons all the way kind of through whenever we could afford because pianos are expensive when my mom was I didn't have a dad. So,
Mm,
and eventually I went to college and I did singing there and piano. And then I got a private teacher later on when I had kids and they were in school and I had time on my hands again. And then eventually I realized the places that I was going and things that I was doing, I couldn't very well strike a piano. So I picked up the guitar and
mhm.
self-taught. And then after self-taught teaching myself, I finally decided that I need to get and take this serious. And so when I started the band, I'd have been doing karaoke. I
Mhm.
had to coordinate the guitar and the singing now together, and that was a real challenge. But then I kept progressing, and I hope I keep doing that from now until whenever the lights are out and I got to go home.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I think that happens with a lot of musicians. My personal journey was flute as well to start off when I was age 4. Went to piano while I was still learning flute, and then saxophone while I was learning both of those. And then once I found the drum kit, I gave all the others up and just went that way. And that's
Yeah, I drink cajon now, by the way.
the what?
Like a butter cajon.
Oh, the cajon. Those are so fun. The cajon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
I
cajon. Yeah.
Yeah, but
So
I'm primarily play drum kit. I just am in love with all the different combinations, all the potential. There's vast potential, and I do have a big kit, but I haven't even busted it out since before the pandemic. My kit right now is three toms, snare drum, bass drum, and two cymbals, and that's it. And it's just basic, one tom more than a basic jazz setup, but the amount of flexibility that even that offers, the dynamic range, it's so incredible. And so this is something I try and tell people too. If you don't find an instrument that you like the first time, that doesn't mean that you're not a musician or won't find something eventually.
right,
It happens to
exactly.
a lot of people.
I think that for when you start younger, like you and I did, you were younger than me though. Um, Once you get that taste in your mouth, it never leaves. And at some point in your life, when you're looking for something, it pops up and music comes back out again, and that instrument choice starts in.
Yeah.
I never really stopped. I just never took it as far as when I started in 2000 from
Yeah.
karaoke to a band to a guitar. I was like, holy cow.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that. We have a few minutes left here. And I'd love for you to, you said it a couple times, but I'd love for you to repeat it one more time. Where can people find you?
Well, if you go to Joy Lajeret or Joy Ann Lajeret, which is my, my professional name, um, you can and just type it in the search engine. You will find that on YouTube.
How do you spell that?
It's Joy, that's Joy, and Lajeret,
Hmm.
Lajeret. And if you put that in the search engine on YouTube, you will get to my channel. All of my interviews are in there. All the music that I'm producing are in there. All the jams that I go to have shorts in there that can last anywhere from 20 minutes to 2 hours.
Hmm.
So everything I do is in there, and I post it on YouTube. Every major streaming, Spotify, Amazon, Reverb Nation. I can't even think of all of them. There's 125 of them out there. I have my music on.
Wow.
And I have a website, www.joyannlajeret.com. All of my music is listed in there, my merch, the write up about matured musicians, what it's about, and how to join. There's a little button that says join, you push that. And every Monday at 2 o'clock, practically, unless I'm sick, like I was a couple weeks ago,
Hmm.
um, I give an hour interview from 2 to 3.
Hmm.
And I'm on Facebook, Joy Lingerie. Joanne, I think it's just Joy Lingerie. If you look in the search engine, I come up, friend me. And you can go also, if you don't want to do that, go to the search engine and Facebook page on your Facebook page and type in Matured Musicians Group, and it'll come up and you'll be able to join at that time. You can't get in to see or hear anything until you join. It costs nothing. Nothing I do costs anything. I'm not making money at this.
Yeah.
But I do it because I love it and I want to see people grow in musically. And I think you know why. I've already explained my passion and why I think it's important for people to get in there, and if they have any kind of talent at all at a jam, I talk to a lot of people, encourage them to
Hmm.
do their music, even if even if they don't want to. And there people get their karaoke helps. I'll get up and they'll sing with their phone. I mean, and that
Yeah.
usually leads to something eventually down the line, I hope.
Yeah. Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you. And I encourage everybody to go and check out Joy, what Joy's doing, both with her music and her podcast. Lots of great work there. Thanks again for tuning in, and thank you for coming onto the podcast, Joy. We will have to have you back because we only got through a few of the questions because the conversation was
Well,
so
you too. I need you too.
good. So thank you, and we'll end the stream now.
Very welcome. Thank you. Bye bye, everybody.